Russia's build-up near Ukraine has entered its third month. It is getting bigger by the day. First, Russia put boots on the ground. Now it is sending ships. Let me show you the latest pictures. They're from the Baltic Sea. These are Russian ships. More than a dozen of them have been deployed. They conducted shooting practice today. On the ground, Russia is moving more troops, more tanks and more weapons to the Ukraine border. Tensions could escalate because the West has rejected Russia's demands. So what will Moscow's next move be? Are Russian forces gearing up to march into Ukraine? We'll discuss all of that. Let's bring you the latest. Moscow is boosting its deployments. Russian soldiers have surrounded Ukraine from three sides. There are more of them at the border now. The initial estimate was around 100,000. Russia now has 60 battalion groups. How many soldiers? Anywhere between 112,000 to 120,000. It is believed that Moscow will send more troops. Medical and logistic networks are being put in place too. In February, the conflict could escalate. Russia will hold military exercises with Belarus. And that's another neighbor of Ukraine, Belarus. It is on Russia's side. It has been receiving Russian troops and weapons. And this is significant because from Belarus, Russia can directly target Kiev. The drills could build more pressure on the West. Reports say Russia could bring in more forces if needed and advanced military equipment like fighter jets and the S-400 missile defense system. Remember, the Russians already have 100,000 odd troops deployed at the border. That is a lot of soldiers. Why do they need more? Why is Russia sending more troops and weapons? To put more pressure on the West. They've rejected Russia's demands, the ones that Moscow made last week. We told you about them, Russia's proposal. They wanted three things: no expansion of NATO, no NATO membership for Ukraine, and removal of NATO forces from the region. The US and NATO have submitted written responses. They've not been made public. But America's message is clear. They will make no concessions for Russia.
All told, our actions over the past week have sharpened the choice facing Russia now. We've laid out a diplomatic path. We've lined up steep consequences should Russia choose further aggression. We've stepped forward with more support for Ukraine's security and economy. And we and our allies and partners are united across the board. Now, we'll continue to press forward and prepare. It remains up to Russia to decide how to respond. We're ready either way.
We are ready either way, he says. That's the message from Washington, D.C. What about Brussels? NATO wants to talk to Moscow. Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg believes there is a diplomatic way out of this crisis. But he's worried about the new deployments.
Tensions are increasing. Russia continues its military build-up. And we see also more troops not only in and around Ukraine, but also now in Belarus, where Russia is in the process of deploying thousands of combat troops, hundreds of aircraft, S-400 air defense systems, and a lot of other very advanced capabilities.
Will Russia accept the offer for talks? Like always, they won't tell. This is what the Russian foreign minister said.
As for the content of the document, there is a response which gives hope for the start of a serious conversation on secondary questions. But in this document, there was no positive response to the main question.
The decision rests squarely on Vladimir Putin. Top Russian officials will submit their proposals to their president. Moscow has promised a swift response. So the question is, will Putin order his troops to move in or not? So far, there are no signs that Russia will de-escalate. In fact, it's getting support from China as well. Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi spoke to US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He called Moscow's demands legitimate and voiced concerns about NATO deployments. One thing is clear, diplomacy is not working. Even Europe's attempts are failing. Yesterday, we told you about France and Germany playing mediators. Paris hosted a dialogue between Russian and Ukrainian diplomats. The meeting lasted 8 hours. No breakthrough. All sides agreed to meet again in Berlin in 2 weeks. Kiev, though, is not losing hope.
The positive signal is that all sides declared their readiness to work on the settlement of these disagreements. It's an important and positive signal as well. Of course, I won't be honest if I said that we didn't all want faster and bigger results. And of course, there is nothing bigger than the desire of the Ukrainian people to stop the war, to bring back our territories and our people.
So here is how things stand. Russia is expanding troops. The United States and NATO won't make concessions. China is supporting Russian deployments. And Europe seems to be out of moves. To be honest, the European Union is proving to be the Achilles heel for the West. And Ukraine is blaming one country for this weak response. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.